Please adhere to YouTube's selected guidelines before viewing the content of this video. I do not encourage or condone any products, actions, or behaviors shown in this video. All videos are produced in a safe, professional, and controlled environment. Please do not attempt to replicate any actions performed during the video. All actions are performed by professionals. Alright, so a couple days ago, I decided to buy myself a $30 bottle of sake. Today, I'm going to be trying it for the very first time, and I'm going to be letting y'all know just how it is, what it's like, and whether I like it or not. Will I end up enjoying the $30 bottle of sake that I'm going to be drinking for the very first time today? Well, I don't know, but I'm looking forward to finding out. Although if I had to guess, I'm probably going to enjoy it much more so than not, as I've heard some pretty good things about this variety, which in specific is the Wandering Poet Junmai Ginjo Japanese sake, which was manufactured by the Rihaku Brewing Company in Japan. And in specific, this sake was produced in Shimane with Yamada Nishiki rice, to be precise. It supposedly has a profile of banana, aloe, and lemongrass, which sounds very interesting to me, I will acknowledge. And based off of what I've read online, this is one of the best sakes you can get in the $30 price range. I've heard it's very smooth. It has a lot of depth to the flavor, and I've just heard it's really solid as a whole. But is it something that I'm gonna like? Well, I'm excited to find out. Let me tell y'all what. I do suppose, without further ado, before I go ahead and get this bottle all opened up, and before I go ahead and actually get to drinking, I should probably go ahead and cover the look of the bottle itself. Now, shouldn't I? Once I've done that, I'm gonna go ahead and get the cap all off, go ahead and smell this sake for the first time, let y'all know exactly what it smells like, and once I'm done doing that, I'm gonna go ahead and pour myself a glass of this, drink some, let y'all know whether it's stuff I like or not. And once I'm done drinking, I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys my final thoughts on this bottle, let you guys know whether it's worth the money, and then after that, I'm gonna give it a rating as well. But first off, as said, we've gotta go ahead and go over the look of the bottle, which is, in my opinion, a pretty nice and luxury look. We get a black cap up here, and then the rest of the bottle itself is a very nice sort of milky, sort of almost cloudy green, I'd have to say. It looks absolutely beautiful, very elegant if you ask me, and the green design of the bottle, in my personal opinion, gives this a little bit more of a retro look than not, which is exemplified by the label on the front of the bottle, which also has a little bit of a retro, almost sort of, I'd have to say, old-styled, Japanese sort of look to it. Overall, a very solid look in my personal opinion. We get a very nice beige background, as we can see a bunch of Japanese text just all along it. I did not translate what all of this text meant before the video, but I probably should have done that, I will admit. But this looks a little bit handwritten. This looks a little bit more typed, but overall looks very nice nonetheless. We can see there are some houses and stuff like that, looking like a rural, like mountain town in Japan or something along those lines. That's all in sort of a reddish brown, I'd say. And then we could see some mountains on the other side over here as well, looking fantastic. And below this design, all up here, we can see it just says Wandering Poet right there, which is of course the name of this variety. Under that, it just says Junmai Ginjo Japanese sake. And then all the way at the top, it just says Rihaku right there, as that's the company that produces this sake. That's pretty much all there is to the label on the front of the bottle. Very much an advertising label that just tells you the bare minimum information you need to know while looking good, and it certainly does look good if you ask me. Moving on to the back of the bottle, we get a little bit more of an informational label, I'd have to say. Just says vegan, gluten-free, enjoy chilled, which this is chilled. As we can see, the bottle is a little bit cold right now. No complaints on my behalf about that. I had it in my cooler that's next to me before this video for quite a little while. Just says sake, 720 milliliters. Alcohol percentage is 15% by volume, or around about a 30 proof. So about the same as, like, let's say normal wine or something like that, which sake is essentially just rice wine. So that does make sense. Also says, of course, product of Japan, and not going along the side right there. I just read off of everything that was on the side right here, but moving on to the actual stuff on the other side and in the middle, we can just see it just says Rihaku Wandering Poet, named for the 8th century Chinese poet Li Po, of whom it was said he drinks a big bottle of sake and writes 100 poems. So yeah, no, I mean, like, I'm gonna have to say that's I don't know who Li Po is, I will acknowledge, but that's pretty accurate to me. I personally enjoy writing poetry every once in a while. It's definitely a little bit more of a fun thing to do than not. I certainly don't mind doing it, I will admit. And you know, when writing, it's write drunk, edit sober. That's the move, you know what I'm saying? Write drunk, edit sober. So yeah, he drinks a big bottle of sake and writes 100 poems. That sounds about right to me, I'm not gonna lie. We can see it just says the grade of this sake is Junmai Ginjo. The prefecture this sake was made in is Shimane, and that's in Japan. The rice that was used was Yamada Nishiki, and then the profile is banana, aloe, and lemongrass. I think I said all of that previously. It is apparently a medium to full-bodied sake with a more fruity and floral flavor than not, rather than an umami savory flavor. There's just some social media pages and websites, produced and bottled by the Rihaku Brewing Company. And then we get the California warning label right there, barcode right there. Just a little bit of a like a bottle, like you could turn in this bottle for money or something like that. And then it just says who this bottle was imported by. And yep, that's pretty much all that's going on for the actual label designs themselves. There's a little bit of a piece of Japanese text in silver on the black cap, and there's a silver line going all the way around. It says something, I'm sure. I don't know exactly what it says, but I figure that is the same text as what's on the front, which I assume says Wandering Poet, or maybe Rihaku. I'm not exactly sure. Either way, I think I've covered the packaging. It's time for me to go ahead and get this bottle all opened up, and it's time for me to go ahead and smell this sake for the very first time. How will a $30 sake smell? Well, I'm looking forward to finding out. This is the most expensive sake I've ever bought, so I have my expectations a little bit higher than usual, that is for sure. And ooh, it almost smells like a hard cider. I'm not gonna lie, just on the nose, immediately, it almost smells like a hard cider. Wow, it really does. It really does. Like, it kind of almost smells like a mix of, like, well, sake and strongbow. That's kind of what it smells like. Like strongbow hard cider, it's a cider I've drank a lot of. This very surprisingly does have, yeah, no, this definitely does have a sort of very fruity smell to it, which is, of course, what you would expect from what they say on the back, and, of course, is what you would expect from something that smells like strongbow. Yeah, really does have an almost sort of like hard cider smell to it. That is very unique. That is very interesting. Huh. Almost smells like, yeah, strongbow or Stella Artois or something like that. That's very interesting. On the nose, I'd have to say I'm getting a very fruity, floral-like scent. I know it said there was a little bit of banana in there, and I definitely agree with that, but I'd also say there's definitely as well a little bit of pear, and maybe a little bit of like Granny Smith apple as well. So I'd have to say, yeah, it's like fruity, and there's like pear, Granny Smith apple, a little bit of banana kind of thing. What did it say the other profile stuff was? Aloe and lemongrass? I'm getting a very sort of smooth smell as well. That might be the aloe, and the lemongrass might be the sort of floral smell. I'm not exactly sure. I've never really smelled lemongrass to any significant extent, but what I can say is that this stuff has a very fruity, sweet smell, and it smells fantastic without a doubt. I'm gonna go ahead and just put this on the ground real quick, and I'm gonna go and take this metal piece off of the cap, and I'm going to just put the cap back on momentarily, and I'm gonna get my glass all out. I have not a sake drinking glass with me today because I couldn't find the usual shot glass that I drink sake out of, so I've got one of my bigger glasses instead. It ain't no biggie though, it ain't no biggie, but without further ado, let's go ahead and pour some sake into this glass. Not too much by any means, because this is 15%. I don't want to get too much of a buzz. I just want to enjoy some alcohol. Well, let's go ahead and pour it in. I think we're going to go with right about there. I think that's how much I'm going to go for. We can see color-wise, it is very clear, if I do say so myself. Just trying to get the cap back on. Just like that. There we go. Color-wise, it is very clear. Maybe has just the tiniest bit of a yellowish hue to it, in my opinion. But Overall, very clear, just a little bit of an off, sort of like beige or yellowish tint to it, but it is more just pure clear than not. No complaints on my behalf. In the glass, the smell itself definitely opens up just a little bit. Interestingly enough, I'm getting a wow. Wow, I'm getting almost sort of a, wow, that aloe, huh? That aloe, really? Huh. Whoa, that is very interesting. Okay, so you know that sort of smooth smell that I mentioned previously, that is the aloe. And I know that aloe vera and agave are two different plants, but in my opinion, aloe vera and agave can kind of taste, or not taste, but smell somewhat similar, if you ask me. They can kind of smell somewhat similar. And that's really, really, really interesting, because this almost, now that I've poured it in the glass and it's kind of opened up and I'm not just smelling it through a nozzle now, it almost has like a sort of tequila-ish smell to it, which is very, very, very unique, and I'm pretty sure that's the aloe vera. Wow. Like, it doesn't smell purely like tequila by any means, but it definitely has a tequila-ish, like an aloe-ish smell to it, which is very, very, very unique. Wow, yeah. Okay, I'd have to say the smell in the glass definitely has changed just a little bit. It is now very much that of a, I'd have to say, still fruity, sweet smell, but the fruity undertones have kind of been lost just a little bit. And now it's more of a, I'd have to say, aloe-ish sort of smell with undertones of that lemongrass and undertones of that sort of fruity. Very, very, very interesting. Well, I gotta admit, this smells, I gotta admit, super interesting. It is the most interesting sake, smell-wise, that I have ever tried so far, and I haven't even tasted it yet. This is a $30 bottle of sake, and it is the most expensive sake I've ever tried, but I really shouldn't be surprised that this is like the most interesting smelling sake I've ever had, because it is the most expensive bottle of sake I've ever had, and I've heard really good things about it, but it is very interesting so far, and I'm hoping the taste lives up to it. Let's go ahead and grab myself a little bit of a screenshot real quick for the thumbnail of the video, and then after that, I'm gonna go ahead and take a sip, I think. There's a bug coming at me. Had to go for the YouTube face there. Alrighty though. Hopefully one of those will work. We will find out. Hopefully one of those will do. Worst case scenario, I can always grab another one after this video, I do suppose. Without further ado, y'all, I do think it is now time for me to go ahead and try the Wandering Poet Junmai Ginjo Japanese sake for the first time. And I do think it's time for me to find out just how it is, what it's like, and what I think of it. Without further ado, let's get to drinking. Yes, sir, you know what I'm saying, Wow. I just took a very small sip, a tiny sip, just for the first one, just because I wasn't sure how rough it was going to be. It's pretty smooth, at least when taking a very small sip. There's a little bit of a burn, without a doubt, in the back of your throat, but it dissipates very quickly. And honestly, it's nothing too intense. Like sometimes with like the burn from liquors and stuff like that, it can be a bit too much and it just lasts for way too long. This, on the other hand, it is honestly kind of satisfying. It just gives you a very light burning sensation and it goes away quite quickly as well. Like it's still there a little bit, like there's kind of afterburn, but it's nothing insane. Wow. This is so smooth. This is 15%. And I wouldn't say it's as smooth as drinking something like, let's say, a hard cider. But it's not terribly far off. It's really not. Wow. I might need to pour myself more. This being cold, I will acknowledge, it is definitely covering up some of the flavor, I feel like. I feel like I might get more flavor out of this if it was at room temperature. However, it did say on the bottle to serve chilled, and I want to drink my drinks how the manufacturer recommends, because they're doing that for a reason. So I'm drinking this chilled today, and it is certainly very, very, very good. I do not think that this would be nearly as smooth if I was drinking it at room temperature or when warm right out of the microwave or something like that kind of thing. Excuse me. Ooh. Wow. And taste-wise, I'd have to say I'm very much getting that of a fruity, floral, smooth taste. Very smooth taste, very smooth taste. I know I mentioned that there was a sort of like almost tequila-ish smell to it. That aloe is still in there, but it doesn't taste like tequila, of course. Aloe is not agave. It's different stuff. It's just sometimes it can kind of smell similar, in my opinion. Maybe it's just me. But yeah, very interesting. Very, very, very interesting. Wow. Yeah, no, I gotta admit. Tastes great. Sort of a fruity, floral, very smooth taste. I'm gonna need to pour myself more because I'm almost already done with my glass. Wow. I really am impressed. This stuff is good. This might be the best sake I've ever had. I'm honestly, and all of the flavors, it's not that they're like not there. There is lots of flavor, but it's hard to pick out because everything combines together so well. Very interesting. I'm gonna pour myself another little bit of a glass real quick. That is some good stuff though. That is some good stuff. I quite like this. Pairing wise, it would pair amazingly with rice. Pair great with a Granny Smith apple or a pear, or maybe like a plum or something like that kind of thing. Chungwas I think would be pretty solid pairing wise with them as well. American Spirit Blacks. I'd say the American Spirit Grays. I'd say the American Spirit Dark Blues. I'd say probably all of those would be very solid pairings. Pretty much anything straight Virginia I think would be solid pairings. So if you got like a straight Virginia in your pipe or something like that kind of thing and you enjoy sake, I think this would definitely be a solid one for you. It's got a very fruity sort of flavor to it, and of course straight Virginia stuff does tend to have that similar sort of flavor, I will acknowledge. Anything with Perique tobacco as well I think would be pretty solid pairing wise. Wow. Yeah. It's so smooth. This is so smooth. Like, the last couple sakes I've had have been Ozeki 1-cups, which I don't mind drinking. I know it's not the best thing ever. Ozeki 1-cups are not the best thing ever. They're just not. But I don't mind drinking them because they're like not that expensive. I can get them for $4 and I get like 300 milliliters or something like that kind of thing. Maybe not 300 milliliters, but I get like a decent amount for $4 and it gets me a nice buzz going. This is so much better than Ozeki 1-cup. Like, I don't mind drinking Ozeki 1-cups. I wouldn't call it a good sake compared to some I've tried in the past, and especially when compared to this, but like, they're drinkable. If you don't like Ozeki 1-cup, but you kind of think you like sake, this is what you're gonna want. Ozeki 1-cup is like bare minimum gets you going kind of thing. It just gets you drunk. This is a classy drink right here. This is solid. I like it. Yes, very solid. Oh man, a wasp just came next to me. I don't know where he came from. That was kind of scary though. I'm not seeing like any wasp nest around here. So I don't know. Well, there actually is one over there, but I'm not sure. That wasp scared me though. I'm glad he decided not to come at me because wasps, They're not particularly nice bugs, and not particularly nice insects, without a doubt, I will admit. Taste-wise, though, I'm really trying to think of what the full taste profile is. I don't want to drink too much, because I don't want to get too much of a buzz, but I also don't mind drinking a little bit. But this is really nice. And I will admit, it is getting me a buzz as well. This stuff is definitely getting me a buzz, without a doubt. And I'm enjoying the buzz. It's a very nice buzz as well. This sake, it's got overtones of, I'd have to say, sweetness with a little bit of savoriness as well. It's definitely more of a sweet than savory sake, but it is both. But definitely, I'd have to say probably 70 sweet, 30 savory. With a little bit of an alcoholic undertone, of course. The bottle of sake I have with me today is warming up. I am outside right now. It's not currently in the fridge, so it is warming up. However, when it was really chilly, I really was getting no sort of alcohol flavor at all. Taste-wise, I'd have to say the main overtones of the actual flavor intricacies are that of fruit, floral, and, well, as the bottle said, probably aloe. Honestly, I would have to say that's a very accurate description. I would have to say the intricacies of the flavor itself, the real details, I'd have to say starts off as being that of and it depends sip to sip. It depends sip to sip, I want to acknowledge. So just because I say one flavor is on top doesn't mean that that's what you're going to experience if you try the same sake as I'm trying right now. And it changes sip to sip as well. The flavor of this sake is very much dynamic in my personal opinion. I'm just going to go ahead and put the sake in my cooler real quick, because actually I might want another glass in just a few, and I don't want to warm it up any more than it already has. Yeah, no, the flavor is very dynamic. I get not multiple different flavors. Well, I get multiple different flavors in each sip, without a doubt. But then you take another sip and the flavor changes a little bit, and it changes a little bit, and it changes a little bit, and it continues changing. And as you continue to sip, as the flavor as you get more used to the flavor, you start noticing more. The flavor really is quite dynamic, and it's not the deepest flavor in the world. There's not the most depth to it. I've had products that definitely have more depth of flavor before. However, there certainly is a decent amount of depth to the flavor of the Wandering Poet sake, and it is very dynamic without a doubt, and that's my personal opinion. The overall flavor at the top, I'd have to say, is very much that of that aloe flavor. I'd have to say that sort of like smooth aloe flavor is very much at the top of the flavor profile kind of thing, and that's certainly helped by the mouthfeel of the sake, because the mouthfeel of the sake is very much that of a very smooth mouthfeel. It's sometimes like water can be like a little bit rough and stuff like that kind of thing. Sometimes liquors as well can be a little bit smoother, a little bit rough, or a little bit grainy kind of thing, and they can just kind of taste that way or have the mouthfeel that way, even if they're not really like grainy per se. But the sake I'm drinking today, it's got a very smooth, almost sort of creamy mouthfeel in my personal opinion. And due to that mouthfeel, in part, the aloe flavor, I'd have to say, is at the very top. That is the most prominent flavor. Then under that, I'd have to say there's sort of a fruity flavor of banana, apple, pear, Granny Smith apple to be precise, and a more sour pear than not to be precise, with some other sort of citrusy tones in there too. So I'd have to say it's a citrusy sort of banana-like, Granny Smith apple-like, pear-like flavor, with then undertones of a little bit of floral flavor as well. That might be that lemongrass flavor coming in that was mentioned on the back of the bottle, but in my opinion, it's also got sort of a flowery flavor to it, almost like I'd have to say, almost like maybe like a rose sort of flavor or something like that kind of thing, if you ask me. And that's very much what the flavor is like. So to summarize, I'd say the flavor of the Wandering Poet Junmai Ginjo sake, which cost me $30, it's very much that of a sweet and savory flavor, 70 sweet, 30 savory, with undertones of, I'd have to say, aloe, fruits, and a little bit of a floral flavor as well. And the intricacies of that flavor are, I'd have to say, a very smooth, creamy aloe flavor, helped by the smooth, creamy sort of mouthfeel of the sake, with then undertones of a sort of citrusy, sweet, fruity, banana, Granny Smith apple, and like, I'd have to say, pear-like flavor. And then under that, There's, I'd have to say, a sort of rose-like floral flavor, maybe with a little bit of lemongrass as well, and a couple other floral things. Overall, that's what the flavor of the Wandering Poet sake is, in my personal opinion. It's got a decent amount of dynamicness to it. It tastes great. It's very smooth, when served cold at least, but definitely when served warm. I can tell it would be a bit rougher than us. I definitely recommend serving it cold. But nice flavor. It's just good overall. It's dynamic. The more you drink, the more you notice when it comes to the flavor. It gets you a buzz because it's 15%, and it's got a great mouthfeel. And it's quite smooth, when served cold at least. And it's just pretty good stuff. Yeah, no, I think I gotta admit, I think I like the Wandering Poet sake. I do think I may. I may like it. It's a possibility. Would I, you know what? I'm thinking it's a good idea. If I just real quick, pour myself another glass. Not like a lot. I'm not gonna pour as much as I did the last two ones, but I'm gonna pour myself another little bit of glass. Just a little bit, just like that. And I'm thinking that's a good idea because I just really want to make sure. I've got a rating in mind for this sake. And I've got some stuff I want to say about this sake, positive things, but I want to make sure that I'm not going to regret saying what I'm going to say. So I need to make sure that, well, I get all of my thoughts in line before I say anything. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Is there anything I'm missing from the flavor? I was trying to think if there's anything I'm missing. I don't feel like it really is. There's definitely, especially when it gets a little bit warmer, like you don't just want to serve it chilled, you want to serve it cold, in my opinion. There's definitely a little bit of an alcohol hit to it. It's very smooth when actually cold, but when it starts getting a bit warm, it definitely starts getting a little bit alcohol-y, a little bit rougher, and you definitely, I'd have to say, actually maybe start losing a little bit of flavor. Just because the alcoholiness becomes a little bit overwhelming, but it's not too big of a deal. And as you continue drinking, it honestly does get smoother as well. Without a doubt, it gets smoother. The more you drink, the smoother it gets, without a doubt. I can confirm that. Yeah, okay. I've got my thoughts oriented. I'd have to say the flavor I said for what the sake tastes like is accurate. I'd have to say it is accurate. But if you let it get a little bit warm in your glass or in the bottle when it's on your counter or something like that, do expect a little bit more of an alcohol-y flavor. But right out of the fridge, right after it's gotten very cold and whatnot kind of thing, I definitely have to say it is quite smooth and not alcohol-y, in all honesty. It's just very smooth, nice tasting, and overall gets you a very nice buzz quite quickly. Not as quickly as if you're like shotting liquor, of course, but it's only 15% after all. I say only 15%, but that is a very good amount. Yeah, no, I've got my thoughts oriented though. I think that was the last cup of the sake I'm gonna have for this video. What are my final thoughts on the $30 sake I bought, the Wandering Poet Junmai Ginjo Japanese sake? What are my final thoughts on it? Is it good? Is it bad? Do I like it? And what's the rating I want to give it? Was it worth the money? Let's go ahead and start off with the was it worth the money part. Yeah, no, absolutely was. I'm gonna say it's the best sake I've tried so far. I'm sure there's better sake out there, without a doubt. As with any product, you try one and you think it's the best thing ever, and then you try another and you're like, oh my God, this is the new best thing ever kind of thing. I'm sure there will be another sake that will dethrone the one I just tried. I heard that the Wandering Poet is really good, but I've also heard that there's better sake than it. And that's not terribly surprising. It is a $30 bottle of sake after all. There are much more expensive bottles of sake after all. However, when compared to the sake I've tried so far, which is mostly under $10 sake, this is the best sake I've ever tried. The Wandering Poet Junmai Ginjo Japanese sake is without a doubt the best sake I've ever tried. The flavor is very dynamic, very nice, very smooth, mouthfeel, really not a lot of alcoholiness when you're drinking it as the manufacturer wants you to do so. It's just a really solid sake that, in my opinion, is absolutely worth the price. Absolutely worth the $30 that I paid, and you get it 720 milliliters as well. So it'll last you, if you're only drinking like a cup at dinner every couple days or so, it'll probably last you like a week or two, which is really not terrible if you're wanting a really solid drink. It's not cheap. This is not the sake I'm drinking today. I'm not going to call it cheap, but when compared to some bottles of sake I've seen, which are like $60, it's not horrible, but it's not cheap. Of course, I want to say it's not cheap. The $30 I spent on this bottle was something I had to think about for a while. Spending $30 on a bottle of something that's not liquor is a hard choice for me, because with liquor I can always just go, oh man, I'm just gonna mix it with Sprite or Coca-Cola or Dr. Pepper or something like that kind of thing. Even if I don't like it, I'm just still gonna drink it. With sake, on the other hand, I tend to drink it straight, so I really have to make sure it's something that I'm gonna like, and I have to make sure that the price I pay is something that is really worth paying. Personally, I would spend $30 on a bottle of the Wandering Poet again, without a doubt. I absolutely would. And I think I'm going to be having some with dinner over the next couple days. I think that's going to be my plan, in all honesty. I'm going to be having some with dinner. I think that's going to be the moves. Overall, I am a fan of the sake I drank today. I think it's worth $30. I would buy it again for $30. And I'm going to enjoy drinking it without a doubt. Overall, very solid sake that I thoroughly enjoyed. I quite enjoyed the Wandering Poet. I really like the dynamic flavor. I like how smooth it is. It's very solid. It's solid. I quite like it. Could be the buzz talking, but I'm confident in saying that I enjoy it. I really do think I do. Solid stuff without a doubt. I gotta admit, I do think it is the best sake I've ever tried. Not by a massive margin. Not by an insane margin by any means. I've tried one other sake before, and it might just be my memory because it's been a while since I drank this sake, but I tried a Soho sake. S-O-H-O sake. And I tried that, and that was just in a little can, and I think that was like $6 for the little can. And that was really good as well. I really enjoyed that. That's like number 2. And then it's more of a wide margin to everything else I've tried. But yeah, no, I'd have to say the Wandering Poet sake, the best sake I've tried so far, I gotta admit. Not by a massive margin, but the best sake I've had so far, and absolutely a sake that I would not mind buying again, without a doubt. Yeah, solid stuff, enjoyable to drink. I certainly had a good time today. And, you know, rating-wise, I think I'm gonna have to give the Wandering Poet sake a very solid 4 out of 4. I think I'm gonna have to give it a very solid 4 out of 4 in all honesty, because it's really good. It's a masterpiece of a drink, if you ask me. It's just really, really, really nice. I think it would pair great with a lot of foods. I drink it while eating dinner, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, solid stuff, solid stuff. 4 out of 4 for the Wandering Poet, in my opinion. Anything else I wanted to say? It may be dethroned. I may bump it down to like a high 3 to 4 eventually if I try a sake that's just that much better than it. But for the moment, it's a 4 out of 4 for me. For the moment, the Wandering Poet is a 4 out of 4. I think that's all I wanted to say for this video today. If you guys have enjoyed watching this video, of course, please make sure to like and subscribe for more content. I have my Instagram, my book, my merch, my P.O. Box. Actually, not my P.O. Box because it's closed now, so I have my website in the description down below. Instead, go check it out. But I have all that in the description down below. Go check it all out, of course. If you guys have enjoyed watching this video, make sure to let me know in the comments down below what you guys think of the sake I drank today. If you guys have tried the Wandering Poet before, let me know what you guys think of it. If you guys have not tried it before, just let me know what you guys think of it based off of what I said. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this video, guys. I'm a little bit buzzed. I think I'm gonna chill out for a little while and just enjoy myself. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. To the next one, y'all, stay safe and peace and have a great one. Yes, sir, you know what I'm saying?